I once worked as a nurse in a mental hospital. It didn't last that long, and I soon left there. Of course, it's clear why. A mental hospital is not the most cheerful place. I will not describe here all those charms that I have seen enough of. This is not what I want to tell you here. And I'm going to tell you about one patient. Out of respect, I will not reveal his real name here. Let them call him Henry. Henry caught my attention on my first day at work. He was not like the rest of the patients, neither those who were in prison, nor those who mowed under the insane, nor schizophrenics who muttered incoherent nonsense to themselves, nor even more so the poor patients brought to the state of plants, who can only look at the white wall with empty eyes for days on end. Henry looked like an ordinary man, exhausted, but still sane. His medical records said he was only 29 years old, but he looked more like 39. His speech, actions, and look showed no signs of mental pathology. I wondered why he could have been put away here, and I learned from the nurses that Henry had once killed 3 people, including his own sister, and in very sophisticated ways, for which he was declared insane, and sent here to drag out a miserable existence forever among the half-dead shells that were once people. I was amazed. How could such an absolutely reasonable-looking person be a bloody murderer? If I'd seen Henry on the street, I wouldn't have thought about it. Even though I knew about Henry's past, I couldn't help feeling sorry for him. I was never naive, but still my subconscious could not allow the thought that Henry had interrupted the lives of 3 people. One day I had a dialogue with Henry, which I still remember with a shudder. Then I came to his room to give him an injection. "Hello," I said from the doorway. "Henry, bare your shoulder, the doctor has prescribed an injection." He obeyed in silence. It was rather strange, considering that Henry was, at least technically, crazy. Usually, other patients often threw wild tantrums, and without the help of 2 orderlies with biceps similar to the size of an elephant's waist, no procedure could be carried out. However, there was never anything like this with Henry, and I even went to him alone with a syringe, without being afraid that the syringe would end up in my throat. When I finished, Henry said, "Thank you. And thank you for your message." "What are you talking about?" I was surprised. "You call me by my first name and address me as you. Other employees usually address me, hey, you, and among themselves they call me nothing else than knacker and butcher." His voice was tired and full of indifference. It seemed that he did not care at all about everything that he had just told. I felt a twinge of pity. Despite my 10 years of experience as a nurse, I have not yet completely squandered a grain of humanity. I sat down on the edge of Henry's bed and asked him a question that had been tormenting me for a long time. "Did you really kill 4 people?" Henry paused, and then said, "I don't know for sure anymore." "I see," I said, disappointed. At that moment I decided that I was mistaken, and Henry is really crazy. "I know what you're thinking. Actually, this is to be expected, considering where we are. Maybe you're right, but I still want to believe that you, and the doctors, and even I, don't know exactly what happened then." He was looking away as he said these words, and he wasn't even looking in my direction. "What do you think?" I asked. "I don't know what to think," Henry smiled sadly and shrugged his shoulders. I was afraid that my interest might cause Henry to have an attack of aggression. Still, reason demanded that I be careful with the patient of a mental hospital, but intuition persistently told me that everything was fine with Henry. Trusting my intuition, I asked him a question. "And what happened then?" "I can't tell this to a person with whom I'm on you." Henry looked at me for the first time and smiled. "Okay. Now will you tell me what happened then?" "I'll be only too happy to tell someone about it. I don't expect you to believe this story, you'll probably decide that I belong here. But you know, Something inside me tells me that I can tell you about it. In my opinion, you are a good person and you will not judge me the way others judge me. In general, listen. I had a younger sister. Our parents died when I was just 18 and she was 8. I will not go into the details of this sad story. The only important thing here is that we were left alone. From a carefree childhood, I abruptly fell into the harsh world of adults, absolutely alone, burdened with a little sister. But no, I'm not complaining about her. After the death of my parents, she became the only person close to me. She became everything to me. I had to learn to live like an adult. I didn't feel sorry for myself for the next 5 years. During the day I studied, and in the evening I worked to have at least some minimum money for a living. I had to save on everything, especially I saved on myself, and I did it in favor of my sister. Once I sat for a week without food, just to be able to give my sister a bar of chocolate for her birthday. My sister couldn't help me, but her childish smile was enough for me. I think you yourself understand what was happening to me then. My nerves were on edge. I had to sleep only in rare free minutes. Minutes. Yes, I understand. As a medic, you wonder how I didn't go crazy back then. Only the indomitable will and happiness of my sister saved me then. Henry's story was interrupted by his short laugh, and then he continued. That's how we lived until I found a decent job after graduation. It seemed that now we would live a normal life. I was already making plans for the future and did not suspect that all my illusory happiness was in danger of disaster. And this catastrophe came in the form of a small leaflet hanging on a pole. My sister noticed her when we were walking with her shopping from the store. "Oh, look. A circus has arrived in our city," she said then. I was as surprised as you are now. It always seemed to me that traveling circuses only happen in foreign films. Henry interrupted his story again and covered his eyes with his hands, but I managed to notice a heavy tear flowing down his cheek.